Volvemos ahora y voy a tener el gran honor y placer de
We're going to resume. It's a great honor and a pleasure to introduce a great friend of the Argentine School of Internet Governance. I met him in Mexico a lot of years ago. And then we met again in Singapore. He was working many years in that region. And I would like to give the floor to and welcome our friend, Erick Stephens. He's Head of Security and Assurance for Latin American, Canada, and the Caribbean regions of Amazon Web Service. Would it be like a director, Erick? Welcome to our school. Thank you, Olga, for your kind words. It's a great pleasure to be here in this virtual school. I am in charge of the security and assurance area for Amazon Latin America. Where are you now? In Mexico? Where are you? I'm in Miami. Well, nice. Welcome, Erick. We have like 500 students. We have always had remote participation, but now that the conference is a virtual conference, it's like we have audience from all over the world. We have simultaneous translation and people participating from different continents, of course, from Latin America and the Caribbean, but we have people from all over the world. Welcome to this new virtual conference. We have like a TV studio here. What I really miss is meeting my friends and experts and sharing lunch. And of course, applauses after every speech, but at least we could have this Internet Governance School. And I would like to thank you for supporting us every year. And now I give you the floor so that we can listen to your speech. Thank you, Olga. As I was saying, it's a great honor and a great pleasure to be part of this South School of Internet Governance. Olga and Adrian have worked a lot in this area, and I want to congratulate you for this. It's not easy to organize this kind of events, and you have done it. I'm sure it's going to be a huge success, and I would like to thank you for that. I have some slides, a PowerPoint presentation. Am I going to share it? If you can share it. Just a second, and we're going to share your presentation.
Ahí estamos.
Sí, ya lo veo. Muchísimas gracias. Bueno, tengo la tarea de tocar en poco tiempo un tema que pues es...
I'm going to briefly address a topic that I think is fascinating.
O algunos dicen que es de formación en temas de seguridad informática y ahora de ciberseguridad.
My background is in cybersecurity, so I'm going to try to do it briefly, but at the end of the presentation, I'm going to give you my contact information so that you can ask me anything that you want. Nobody has all the answers for this challenge. No, we need to work together to find all the answers.
Bueno, según el Foro Económico Mundial,
According to the World Economic Forum, the fourth industrial revolution that we are living shows that the globalization and technology are linked. And technology has a critical role in developing new opportunities as well as risks. The growing involvement of more and more users in the digital environment and the adoption of these new technologies generates dependency on the digital structure, and that brings about certain risks. And if we add the pandemic that we are living, we are going to have higher levels of dependency of technological infrastructure. Before, this was not a thing that we noticed, but today in our daily activities, the way we work, we learn, we communicate, the way we live our lives involves technology. There are new risks, threats, and attacks that we are facing. Once I was told, Eric, don't make your life so difficult. There are going to be different kind of attacks because criminals follow the money. And now the money is in the digital environment, so they are going to be there. So there are social, political, and economic consequences. According to the Inter-American Development Bank, cybercrime is half all crimes all over the world. So these numbers are even higher if we consider the economic damages that these cyber attacks cause, because it may exceed 1% of the GDP of some countries. And if we are talking about critical infrastructure attacks, it could be up to 6%. If we add to these challenges the fact that we are copying and consuming trillions of gigabytes all over the world, and that consumers have higher expectations, we have smartphones, laptops, and many devices. So we have a huge challenge that we are facing, and cybersecurity is a core issue for countries to start accelerating their digital development. Next slide, please. Why is IT security or cybersecurity so difficult? This could be say about different areas. Many organizations have great difficulties in these concepts that I'm showing here. To keep and to manage infrastructure security is not easy. First, because of lack of visibility. In a local environment, it may be difficult or very difficult to know which are the resources that you may have at a certain time and who is using those resources and having access to those resources. Complex tools are needed to have an inventory of assets in real time. And most organizations don't have the level of security that they would like to have. And without visibility, it's difficult for organizations to adequately protect their infrastructure and to meet security requirements that they need as well. And the other element is the low degree of automation that exists. We are trying to get rid of manual processes to solve problems. Think about copying and pasting information from a tool that somebody else developed and doing it to an app that you may have developed, but it's not so simple. And because of this kind of problems, it's very difficult to have automation of main security tasks. Manual processes sometimes have longer waiting times, and in most cases, there are disruptions. Maybe I am upgrading a server or having a patch, and what is going to happen to the services that I'm providing my customer? That may be a hospital or any other customer. Well, they have to wait. If I don't have a continuity plan, etc., it may happen. So the automation goal is to do some tasks with our TI employees. And this mix of lack of visibility and a low degree of automation poses some threats to the organization as a whole to protect the critical infrastructure that they have. We have mentioned that we are more connected nowadays, and technology is part of our lives. And this massive connection is fostered by several factors. And one of those that I want to mention is Internet of Things and the cloud, of course. This makes technology ubiquitous. It's everywhere. And any object with microprocessors can be intelligent or smart. So these elements can combine, and there are a lot of millions of elements interconnected, and all those things should be protected, should be identified, authenticated, and should be valid within our systems. Communications should be protected. And this massive amount of information that we are developing also by Internet of Things is going to bring a lot of benefits and allow us to work in a more efficient and profitable way than before. But of course, there are other trends that contribute to this exponential growth of the digital world. AI, machine learning, among others. So it's a huge challenge to protect all the digital assets. We are not only talking about people, but about things as well. With this digital environment that is continuously evolving, how can we combine innovation and regulation? We have the civil society, the academia, you, the students, And we all need to develop or to make policies that allow us to be competitive in the digital future ahead.
Algunos conceptos que por ahí se manejan de una buena política de ciberseguridad.
Some concepts as regards a good cybersecurity policy, it should enforce or it should protect capacities of all citizens in the private and public sector. It should update the governance framework as regards digital security or cybersecurity. And regulations should evolve. So we have seen in many countries that they are making huge efforts to update these laws and regulations through decrees, maybe. And something important is to foster the adoption of new technologies, such as the cloud. That is not so new, but is paramount for all these topics that we are mentioning as regards cyberspace, the adoption of international frameworks, and also maybe you may know these three basic pillars, because I talked about people, increasing digital capacity of people. I talked about processes, governance frameworks, and I also talked about technology, the adoption of new technologies. These are the three pillars, people, processes, and technology, that are going to allow us to develop an information security culture. And we also apply those three to cybersecurity. It's not that we are reinventing the wheel, it's that these are the three paramount pillars to develop an information or cybersecurity culture. I'm not going to talk a lot about different frameworks in cybersecurity. There are many very good ones, and that can be very useful. To develop a cybersecurity policy, whether it is for a local or national government, for a company, for a university, students, cloud service providers or web service providers, they can all have this or adopt these frameworks, which are very flexible. These that I have here are public documents, and I want to mention the cybersecurity framework from NIST in the US. This framework is being adopted by the national government as well as several regional governments in the US, and it is also being used by 30% of private organizations, not only in the US, but also different organizations in Uruguay, the UK, Mexico are also using this framework. In UNISO, those of us working in cybersecurity, we are passionate about these topics. Of course, Adriana and Olga, who have worked a lot with this, there's an ISO 27103, and this standard, as you may know, ISO is a great forum for developing and participating. It's very clear. These standards as we are cybersecurity, are like a technical report that is based on existing standards. It is in the same family of the 27001. And it promotes the same concepts and practices that are in NIST. So we have here great information that may contribute to what we are doing. Also, the OAS is a good place to see what is the situation in our countries. Different players are participating there. So what I need to know is what my country is doing and what we are going to do in the future. And those tools help us doing that to strengthen our cybersecurity systems. And I'm also mentioning here a document that was done with OAS and Amazon Web Services. And it's like a call to action for governments and companies. We need to all work together. This document can be applied to many environments. So maybe if you are interested, you can read it. It's from 2018, but it's a current document. Next one, please. I don't have much time, so I'm going to briefly mention the NIST framework, cybersecurity framework. This is a mandatory framework that includes the best practices to help organizations in any sector to improve cybersecurity, risk management, and the resilience of their systems. I also like it because it offers like a common ground to work on these topics. It's like a common language. Sometimes we get stuck in what we know about different standards as we are cybersecurity and what other knows. We all try to say the same, but sometimes we speak different languages. So I like to use this framework because it helps us all, and it includes existing standards, because we cannot start from square one. So this is important. It is using existing standards, and we can work from there. This framework was developed for critical infrastructure at the beginning. So it gets into specific details about that, but it can be applied to any kind of organization. Anybody can use it, a government, a bank, somebody from the business world. And what I like is that it's free. Next one. I'm not going to get into details, but this framework offers different elements. There are different profiles. There's a core. We have different concepts that we use in cybersecurity, like identify, protect, which are the most important elements that we should take into account. And since this is a risk analysis, it's going to depend on each organization and what they are going to do and what they are going to plan. Maybe it's a continuous plan, Like, for example, I cannot have problems for more than certain time, and then they need to develop a plan. Next one, please.
Y también les pongo aquí un ejemplo. Ahí está la actividad. Este es un ejemplo de Intel. La verdad que
Here I'm showing an example from Intel. I was saying that this is flexible. So how flexible is it? Well, Intel decided to use this framework, and they changed the levels and established specific criteria for measuring their cybersecurity program. They not only added people, processes, and technology, but they also added the environment. So I think it's great, a great idea. The map that you can see here develops a common language, and we all can see the critical areas for problem solving and maybe focus on that with budgets, resources, because we already identified the problem. So I think that is very interesting how Intel used this framework. Next one, please. And finally, I would like to mention something specific. There are certain documents, and this one that you can see here is a document that helps our clients because it includes all areas such as the military, defense, hospitals, banks. And these platforms are going to offer these kind of frameworks that can be useful to analyze the different frameworks that exist. There are elements that we can use to align our cybersecurity elements to different national frameworks. So you can read about it, and if you have any doubts or comments, you can contact Olga or Adrian or myself. I was telling you at the beginning that we don't have all the answers to everything, but we do have some. So we need to continue developing on this. Now we need to move to action. Thank you, Olga. I liked what you said that we don't have all the answers. I think that nobody has all the answers, but the important thing is to have a network of colleagues that can help us think how to solve a problem, how to think about a strategy. I think that the documents that you shared will allow us to think about it, and we need to face different situations every day. We had to face this pandemic, and I think that the industry as a whole has offered different answers. We have, of course, seen different problems like lack of connectivity or security, but I think that we have reacted to this, and we need to work together, to think together, and you are a clear example of how we can develop knowledge and share knowledge, and that is the idea of this school. I have a couple of questions before you go. You were saying that the cloud is an element that is going to allow us to increase security for users. Can you briefly mention why? And besides security, which are the other advantages of using the web services, Amazon Web Services Cloud? Thanks for your questions. I was talking about these challenges that we are facing in cybersecurity as regards lack of visibility and automation. My colleagues working in security, I'm sure that they agree that this is a complex issue. The cloud is mitigating a lot of these risks because the assets that are connected to the cloud are visible in real time. For example, an auditor or a supervisor that wants to know what happened with a certain database, who was doing some changes in the database. So it's great to have everything in real time. I have information of everything that is done. And that element is going to differentiate the local infrastructure to the cloud infrastructure. And the other one is automation. We are human beings. We are going to make mistakes. That is normal. But what do we have to protect? If I don't know where things are because we cannot see them, and when I know where things are but are too many and attacks are so sophisticated, now there are social networks, organized crime around this. So we need to monitor and to have different alerts in smart systems using, for example, machine learning or AI to have automation of tasks that a human being won't be able to do. If I have automation of certain tasks, I'm going to offer like a panel in real time showing your assets, and you may know the health of those assets when a problem arises. And those are going to be alerts that I can set up according to the regulations that I have to follow. Maybe a government needs to follow certain regulations and to adhere to some provisions, and I'm going to set up my cloud environment following those requirements. I may be a bank and may be following regulations of the central bank, and the central bank is going to give us specific guidelines about how to protect information. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to protect that environment, my architecture, following those needs. And the other question that you were asking, I'm a huge fan of security, and I am convinced, I think that is a reality, that data show that the cloud has a cost-saving component that is very important. When we talk about CapEx and OpEx, this is a paramount. The cloud is going to allow us flexibility. It's going to allow us to innovate quickly. We can test different things that may be difficult. We can have a development environment. These things were expensive and difficult, and now it's easier. We have a virtual environment. We are going to upload our apps. We try things. If it didn't work, if it doesn't work, we try different things. So this innovation is key in the cloud. And being part of a cloud like Amazon's is going to allow you to do different things. If I am as provider in Argentina and I'm offering services for the European community, of course that I need to know all the regulations and to comply with that, and the cloud is going to give me that, and it's going to allow me to offer services in Europe in a matter of seconds. So the cloud is going to give us a lot of possibilities. And if you want more information, we can have a cup of coffee, Olga, and talk about it. I hope that we can do it face-to-face in the near future. And in the meantime, I hope that you and your family are healthy. I am sending you a virtual hug from Buenos Aires, and Adriana and Oscar send you greetings. We want to thank you so much for your presentation and all I'm sending you virtual hugs from Buenos Aires. I hope that you are healthy, and thanks for your time. We're going to have a short break, and we're going to continue with the next panel on cybersecurity as well.